Hi everybody, it's Oksana, and I've had some requests on how to make this braid, and I've made a few pieces that I posted on my Instagram that have this braid kind of going around the stone. So people have asked me how to make specifically the braid portion, and I thought I would do a video on that. So this video is not on a finished piece. This video is just on making a braid, and then whatever you want to incorporate it in is totally up to you. So what makes this braid a little bit unique is that it has 2 strands of wire, as you can see here. It's a typical 3-strand braid, like your standard, when you braid your hair kind of braid. But each of the 3 strands is made of 2 little wires here. And I am gonna show you how I both start it and finish it, but however you want to do that portion is up to you. Depends on your design, depends on what you're making with it. But if you want to see how to make this braid, then just keep watching. So I'm starting out with some 24 gauge wire. This is round, dead soft copper. And in terms of the length, what you want to do is you want to measure around your stone, and you want to multiply that by maybe like 5-ish. And another thing is the braids are a little tricky if you've never made one before. So you probably want to maybe practice on some scrap pieces of wire, because at first they might come out a little wonky until you kind of get the hang of it. So I cut my 3 pieces of wire. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to fold them in half. So that's why I multiplied it by so much, is because each strand, it's just a standard 3-strand braid, just like your typical braid if you're like braiding hair, except each strand is made of 2 wires. So we're going to have 3 of these loops. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave one loop, and I'm going to take the other loops, and it really doesn't matter how specifically you do this. And I might like mess around with it afterwards to make it prettier, but at first you just want to somehow secure it. So I'm just kind of wrapping them around like this. So I have this original loop. I'm going to use this when I'm adding my braid onto something. Then you can use these wires, and you can make them longer if you need to wrap around something. So now you should have 3 sets of 2 wires each. I'm actually going to flip it over like this. Okay. So the tricky part here is because there's 2 wires, they can get crisscrossed like that instead of being right next to each other. So you just have to keep track and always make sure that they're nice and not crisscrossed. And this is a little tricky to do in the air. I'm doing it in the air for you here because I don't really have any other way of doing it and filming at the same time. But if you have something to put this loop around to keep it, firm, that might make it a little easier for you. But if you've never made a braid before, you basically take the rightmost strand, and I like to press here with my finger because this isn't like hair or string, this is wire. So with wire, you have to like bend it into place. You can't just pull it into place. So I'm putting it over and I'm pressing it to make that bend. Now I'm taking the outer leftmost strand group. Again, I'm just pressing it because that allows me to make that little curvy bend. And then, again, you take the right one and you put it over the middle. So you want to try and keep it relatively tight. And it'll take a little bit of time. Now I'm taking the left one and putting it over the middle. Like this. So right one over the middle, and then left one over the middle. That's all it is. So it'll take a little bit of time to get the hang of getting these little spaces more or less equal. I'm so sorry for the noise. The wires are so long, they scratch like my camera. Oh, that is all that there is to it. You just have to get the hang of it, and pressing down with my thumb kind of helps the wires not crisscross because it keeps them flat. So I'm just kind of pinching it between my fingers every time that I make a little bend. I just pinch it and pull. Here's what the braid is looking like so far. And then what I might want to do here at the top is I like to make it a little neater. This was just to get started, but I'm just going to unwind and I'm going to separate these out into their little groups. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first one and I'm just going to kind of bend it over. I'm going to trim it off. So I just have these little ends and I'm just going to kind of tuck them away and just pinch them down. And then with this, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to bend it, trim, and then I'm taking the little ends and just putting them in the back here and squishing them down. So now that looks a lot neater than that big mess that I had going on there before. And then if you need to cut this loop open, you can, just to have two little wires coming out here. So whatever you plan to do with your braid, you can use, these two little wires to attach to something. When I mentioned before measuring the wires, doing, how much room around your stone and multiplying by 5, that was if you want the braid to go around your stone. But you may not want it for that. You may want it for a different part of your design. You might want to use thicker wires. This is pretty thin, so I wouldn't use this for like a bracelet, but you can use thicker wires and make a bracelet out of it, whatever you want to do. So once your braid is long enough to where you're satisfied, what you want to do is you just take the wires, grab 2 sets, and trim them like this. And again, this is how I do it. You can do it in all different ways. You can twist them together, or you can do whatever you want to do. Maybe you need all of these wires to wrap around something or attach to something that's, part of your design. It's totally, totally up to you. So I'm just pinching them down. I'm just kind of squishing them down like this to get them out of the way. And now I'm taking these 2 wires and I'm doing the same thing. So I cut it and now I'm just pinching that down so it looks neater. So here's the entire braid that I made. Here's what it looks like up close. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.